It was about 4,000k, so about 2,700 miles. The current British record was 77 days. We wanted to do it in 60. I've always said if you want something in life bad enough, you don't care how long it takes or how painful it is, you'll go and get it. And I can actually tell that story now. I was running till I was passing out and collapsing. I wanted it that bad. I didn't care about my health. I didn't care about what food I was eating. I didn't care about my hygiene. I didn't care about my sleep. Self-confidence and self-belief, when applied properly, will beat any form of genius. So yeah, I'm Jack Pitcher. I'm 29 and I just grew up from an area called Bracknell. And I would consider myself an ultra marathon athlete. I've done a lot of things, big things, just got a British record running across Australia. And I'm more than happy to start where my running journey took off.
Yeah, let's go with that then, man. Like, where did this all begin for you?
So just as a kid, really, I was really competitive. I used to play a lot of football, and I was one of those kids that would always play out with my mates till like, I was really young. I was always the quickest at school. I was rapid as a kid and was just very, very competitive. And then I ran for the school a couple of times, and then I've always kept myself fit. And as I've got older, my mind sort of matured. I've realized how important it is for your mental health and your physical health. And I've sort of found that balance of, making myself feel better mentally and also finding the competitive side. And that's why every running challenge I've done has just got bigger and better.
I love that it's I was rapid as a kid to now, you know, running across an entire country and grabbing the British record in doing so. Obviously we'll get into that Australia journey, but take me back to before then. Take me back to some of the other big things that you've done in your running career, man, to this point.
Yeah, so like I said, I've always been fit, and a friend of mine was suffering mentally. He opened up to me and he said, "Look, I'd love to do something big," and we trained for our first ultra, and we ran up and down Mount Snowdon for 24 hours straight. And at that point, I mean, it was physically and mentally like really, really like stressful, but we got through it, and the satisfaction of getting the medal and finishing was just, it was so good, and that feeling stuck with me for a long time. And we said to each other, let's do something every year, bigger and better. And then the year after, we done the David Goggins 4x4x48 challenge. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but
Yeah,
for
yeah.
but for listeners, that's running 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. So again, that was a challenge where I started to see a bit of sleep deprivation and just seeing how the mind would sort of try and play tricks on me a bit more. And I'm obsessed about finding my breaking point, and we gave it a go. And again, 48 miles we ran over the 2 days, and we had about 3 hours sleep, 3 to 4 hours sleep. So it was really evil. And then again, we wanted more. So then we decided to sign up for a 160k run, which is about 103 miles. And that was my first sort of 100 mile run. So again, every run I'd done just got bigger and better. After running 100 miles, I thought I could take on Australia. So one big jump.
It's with these things, you always learn something about yourself, something different, don't you? And I think when it comes to a big challenge, you often think, oh, well, I know that part of me now. Like there's nothing else for me to learn. And then you do another big challenge and you're like, oh, actually, I've found this another door to learn this other thing. Oh, that'll be it now. There won't be anything else to learn. And then you do something else and you're like, oh, there's so many different compartments in this thing. Has it always felt like that? Has it always felt that with each challenge you learn something more and something different about yourself?
Yeah, 100%. For me, I knew physically I could do things, but mentally, did I have that side of me? Did I have that real sort of dog in me to be like, I'm really going to go the distance in this? And I found a bit of my breaking point in the Snowden challenge, and I thought, you know what I mean? It's not enough. The competitive come out of me again, and but yeah, it's you constantly find how powerful you can become and how strong you can become. I don't think people realize how strong a mind and body can be. We can push ourselves to extraordinary, extraordinary limits, and that's what I am constantly trying to find is how far I can push myself. And that's all it was. It was, I know my legs don't give up on me, and my brain hasn't given up on me, and you know even though I ran an absurd amount in Australia, I still want more. So it's still how far can I push the brain? I think I pushed the body to. I was running to where I was collapsing, So the body's found its breaking point, but the mind hasn't yet. So I'm constantly trying to find where my mind can take me.
So for people that don't know, a lot of us will only know Australia as that big place on the map. Do you know what I mean? Like we
Yeah.
don't know stats. Hit me with some stats. Tell us or tell people that don't know like exactly what the route was, and then we'll get into kind of like the logistical side of why and why you chose that country.
Yeah, so we decided to run from Perth to Sydney. I started the run with a friend of mine, Josh, but it worked out it was about 4,000 K, so about 2,700 miles. And the current British record was 77 days. And we wanted to do it in 60. That was our aim, was to take 17 days off. And, you know, there's better runners out in the world than me, 100%. I'm not a professional runner. I was just a normal lad, and we thought, why not? Let's just go for it. And yeah, I ran 95 marathons in 61 days to get it done. And in the last 12 days, I ran 33 marathons as well. So it worked out as 115 to 120k a day for 12 days in a row, which is about 74 miles. Um, to bring it home and to get on Bondi Beach. I managed to do it in 61 days. I was just about 5 hours shy of doing it on the 60-day mark. But yeah, that was the stats.
In terms of the why, then why did you pick Australia? Because you mentioned already it's a bigger challenge on a bigger challenge on a bigger challenge, but there are steps to go from a 100-mile race to running the length of a country. Like there are lots of different things you could have popped in there to get to that point, and this could be the culmination. And I don't think, having read about your story and listened to your story, I don't think this is even going to be close to the culmination, which I'm sure we'll get into. But why did you choose to go straight from 100-mile to a country?
It was for me. It was like what I want as a career. I want to be a motivational speaker. That's the only thing I want to chase in this world. I'm not backed financially. I don't have the best connections. I'm a normal lad from a normal area with a normal job, and I thought, you know what? If I want to be a good motivational speaker, I've got to show people and lead by example. You've got to close your eyes and jump. Sometimes you've got to go for something big and ambitious, and you've got to absolutely work your ass off until you succeed in it. And and also as well, logistically, it was an English-speaking country. It was one visa, and it was a long, long way away from home. So all your home comforts are nowhere near you. Your family can't really contact you as much because of the time difference. Everything about Australia made the journey more difficult. And me and my friends, we threw ourselves at the deep end, and we got it done. So that was why, yeah.
What did your family think about this? Because, you mentioned them there for the first time in the conversation, and I'm sure we'll touch on them a little bit over the time we'll chat. But to tell them you're going to go and run across Australia, a country the other side of the world, as you say, no home comforts, no real contact. What was their initial reaction? Because for some reason, I imagine they weren't that shocked that you chose to do something like this.
Yeah, so my mum and sister were just like,
Yeah.
why? Like, just, like, what is wrong with you? Do you know what I mean? Like, how far do you want to go away from us? But the original plan was to run the perimeter of Australia, to start in Darwin, a clockwise route all down the east coast, down to Adelaide, and then west towards Perth through the Nullarbor, and then back up to Darwin. That was our original plan. Me and my friend Josh was to become the first British people to ever run the perimeter of Australia, and we planned for that. We saved for that. We borrowed for that. And one thing, we had a car accident, a car crash, and we should have died in. We lost loads of equipment. We lost loads of money, and then our car broke down, and we lost so much time and funding that we had to completely change our idea. And that's when we decided to run across the country instead of all the way around. It's something I will go back and do one day. But yeah, that was the original plan, was to run around the whole country. Would have been maybe a marathon a day for about 9 months. 8 to 9 months, and we would have increased the mileage, so we would have been back home earlier. But unfortunately, yeah, it was the idea that got away, and we had to sort of play the best game with the cards we were dealt, and we decided to run across it instead. So just a bit smaller.
So was that happening, the car accident and everything else you just described? Did that happen whilst you were out in Australia? That happened. You went there with the plan of running the circumference. That was the initial idea.
Yeah, so we flew into Melbourne. We picked up the 4x4 and the sort of, the trailer on the back that we spent our own money on. We bought everything we needed, like equipment and food and stuff like that. And then we were going to drive all the way up to Darwin to meet my, videographer and photographer who left his job for the plan, the 9 months away. Now we all left our jobs, and we set out on a massive adventure. We got 7 days into as we were driving up to Darwin, sorry, we got, had a massive accident on one of the roads, and we should have been dead. Like, we rolled down the motorway like 4 or 5 times with all our equipment, and we're very lucky to be alive. So, you know, we had to get a new caravan with some of our money, and we lost a lot of time. A lot of morale was, lost. So we finally got back on the road after about 10 days. And then we finally, met my videographer in Darwin. We thought, right, let's go. We've got everything. We're finally back. The whole team's here. And then 7 days into running the perimeter, our car completely stopped in the middle of the outback, just completely died on us. And we were stranded at a petrol station for about 10 days, trying to work out how we're going to get out of here. We can't just leave the car because we can scrap it for some money. And it was a nightmare. So we managed to get ourselves out of that trouble. And we drove from Darwin to Perth, 33 hours straight in a car just to get to Perth, just to get there. We had to scrap the 4x4 for essentially nothing, sell our old caravan, put our money together. We borrowed from family again, and we rented a motorhome for 2 months. And we said, right, let's drive across Australia, and we'll run behind the van for 2 months, and that's what we've done. So it was everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, but we never gave up.
Was there a point where you were thinking, maybe all of this stuff going wrong is telling us not to do this?
Percent, me and my friends were just sat down going, we are in the middle of nowhere, running out of money, running out of time. What is going on? I could not come back home empty-handed. I told people what I was going to do. I wanted a British record. I wanted to make my family proud, and there was no way I could have come home. And there was so many points I was like, we just can't go home. I can't do it. But yeah, like I said, we kept trying. We were making hundreds of phone calls a day, emails a day, really asking everyone for help. And we finally got the right help, and that's when we decided to change the plan. But it was I couldn't have come home empty-handed. I couldn't have. I refused to. Just because I quit my job for it. I spent every penny I had on it. I had to come home with something.
Was there pressure? Did you feel pressure to come home with something?
Yeah, I did, to be fair. I've never, all the runs I've done, I've always succeeded. I've always done okay. I might not have won, I might not have come first, but I've never given up, and I wasn't gonna then, there was a lot riding on this, like I said, it was all risk. Like I said, I spent every penny I had. I could have easily put a deposit down for a house. I didn't. I quit my job. But for me, this was survival because I want to be a motivational speaker. If I come home and just go, yeah, I gave up at the first hurdle, I've got nothing to speak about. There's no story. So for me, it was more than just a record in running. For me, it was survival. For me, it's my career. And that's when I just went, head down and thought, I'm not coming home. And, looking back on it now, I'm so glad I didn't get on a flight home and just come back.
I think I know the answer to this question, but does it feel worth it? All that suffering, all that money spent, all that time where you are now, looking forward to the next challenge. Does that whole journey, everything that happened, does it feel worth it?
Uh, do you know what? Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes, it's worth it because I think a lot of people who know me and my family sort of look at me in a different side now. Um, they might take me a bit more seriously now, and when I say I'm going to do something, like I probably will. It's worth it in the fact that when I speak and I try and motivate people, and I maybe speak at dinners or events, and and I'm a motivational speaker, people can hear my story and go, "Yeah, he's been there and done it. He's really gone the full distance. He was running till he was collapsing. He was running. He almost died trying to get what he wanted." So it's worth it in that sense. But coming home, it was it was a tough time because, like I said to you, I'm just a normal lad from a normal area, and no one seemed to care. I just ran across one of the biggest countries on the planet. I'm not a professional runner. I'm not backed financially. I'm not famous. I'm not an influencer. Um, I went out and done something, and loads of running pages just overlooked my achievement because I wasn't famous, because I wasn't had a name for myself. I didn't even get a pair of trainers like from a company to be like, "Well done, mate." I reached out to hundreds and hundreds of people to be like, "Would love to talk about what I've just done. I'm here to inspire people." Because I suffered from depression for a while, and this is why I've done it. I want to help people with depression, and no one got back. Really, no one got back, and unfortunately, life isn't fair. Life doesn't owe you anything, but I really thought that running across Australia would have just been enough for some people. So anything I can get my hands on, I'm forever grateful. But yes and no, it was sort of worth it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think, your story continues, right? And that's a message that I'm sure, when you're talking about what you've done, getting up every day and continuing that story as you did in Australia is the same as what you're doing now, right? You're back and you're continuing your story, and there is just another chapter to be written in the future. So I think when you get to a point where you're reflecting on something like this, and I'm speaking like I've run across a country. I haven't, obviously not like what you've done. I guess I've run across Wales 5 days, not quite the same.
Because yeah,
There you go. But you reflect on anything difficult you do in life, and it's really hard to process, isn't it? And I think you're probably still in the stage of processing it because when did when did you get back? It hasn't even actually been that long, right?
no. So I got back on the 6th of December,
Yeah.
um, and it took me a long time to recover physically and mentally. I think I still to this day have a bit of trauma. Like I said, I was running for 16 hours a day in a desert sometimes on my own, and I wasn't sleeping. You know, I hit a level of probably psychosis. I saw a GP, and he said you were getting 4 hours sleep a night, running for 16 hours a day on a 4,000 calorie deficit. He was like, "I'm surprised you didn't die." So it took me a long time to recover. I'm still in the process of recovering physically. My hip's still playing up a bit. Yeah, it's been a weird few months, that's for sure. Weird few months, but I remain very much hungry. I'm training for a world record now, and I think using the outcome of what happened to me after Australia, maybe not going the way it did for me, it's just making me more and more motivated, more and more competitive. You know what I mean? So that's how I'm trying to look at it. Maybe in the future it will be luck. Oh, this guy ran across Australia. He didn't really get anything for it. Well, that's a bit lucky. Look what he's done now. So it's luck's subjective. So who knows what happens in the future?
It's a tricky time to come back from something like that in December as well. I think a lot of people listening to this will have some sort of relatability in a small way to, if you're training for a race, you do a race, then you feel pretty down when you aren't training for something anymore because you've had the focus for so long. This is that just a thousandfold because you're completely immersed in a life of running across Australia, and everything that you do is geared to make that happen and to
Mm.
get that British record. You come back in December, everything's leading up to Christmas. It's a funny time anyway. There's all these things that people are probably asking you to do, and go to socially, and you're like, oh my God, like I can't like quite work out who I am or what I'm doing, let alone
Yeah.
everything else. So I would imagine it's taken quite a long time, and it will continue to take quite a long time to settle back into everyday life. That's got to be something that does scare you, though, moving forward to doing something else. It's like you're kind of resetting, and then you're going to blow everything up again to go and do something else.
Mhm. Yeah, do you know what? I learned a lot from Australia, in terms of how to approach companies and who to talk to, the right connections, getting the right people on board. So I've learned a lot. Australia was very cowboy. It wasn't like I wasn't blessed with like a nutritionist, physio, masseuse. Going forward, I'd love to bring, a team like that with me. So I have learned a lot, but I think whatever challenge I do now in the future, for me, well, it might, Australia is a huge country, and I didn't really train a lot for it. I got fitter and fitter while I was out there. So for me, any other country that I tried to run the length of or the width of or anything like that, mentally, it's just going to be easier than Australia, which is it might be like a quite an ignorant way of looking at countries and stuff, but that country is hot, it's flat, it's vast, and it's unforgiving. And you know, um, 2 months of 61 ultras in 61 days, nothing really is going to be that big again. I think, yeah, it's right. It might cause me a bit of anxiety planning for something big again, but I know in my head what I've achieved, and I know nothing can be as hard as those last 12 days alone when I ran 33 marathons. So, yeah, I'm glad I started that way because everything else now going forward feels a lot smaller.
Why did you continue to push for that 60 days? I know you said like just over 60 days, 61 days, or 60 days in a few hours. Like what why continue to push for that when you didn't have to? It was just a number. Like you had plenty of time to get that British record.
Mm. So we told everyone we was going to do it in 60 days, and my mum and sister flew all the way from London to Bondi for 2 days just to see me finish. Right. So they said, look, we're landing on the 4th, and we fly back on the 5th. We're only in Sydney for 2 days. So I said, okay. So me and my friend Josh were running. We were making good time. And then my running partner Josh, he got too injured to carry on. He got 45 days in, and mentally he was fine. Physically he was gone. And he was a young lad. He's only 21, and to run the distance he did at 21 was just unbelievable. And after 45 days, he had to unfortunately throw in the towel. Which after he stopped, we tried giving him 3.5, 4 days to really try and recover. And then we say, look, if you recover in 3 days, we can still do it in 60. After 3 days, he said, mate, I'm holding you back. You have to go on without me now. Like, I'm holding you back. You're going to miss your flight home. You're going to miss your family on Bondi. You have to go. And my videographer said, mate, you've now got to run 120K a day for 12 days in a row if you want to be on Bondi for your family. Otherwise, they're flying home without you. And I'm missing my flight. So I couldn't, for the life of me, not be on Bondi for the 5th of December. Couldn't do it. So that's why I had to run 74 miles a day for 12 days. I just when you have such a vision in your head, and such a raw motivation, you can be absolutely unstoppable. And I had that momentum for 12 days. For me, it was life or death. Um, I couldn't say I wasn't there for my family. Like you said, I could have got the record in another 10 days' time, but I had to do it for my family. They're my biggest motivation, so nothing was going to stop me.
Was that a good thing to have, do you think? The fact that you did have to be there, like in your own mind, like I have to get onto that beach. Was that a good thing to be carrying with you at that point?
Yeah, 100%. It's sometimes people don't like working under pressure or operating under pressure, but for me, pressure gets the best out of me when I feel like I can't turn back. I've got no other option but to keep going forward, no matter what the odds. Pressure gets the best out of me. If I tell someone I'm going to do it, like I can't look them in the eye and say, "Yeah, you were right. I didn't do it." So for me, pressure, it worked on my side really. Um, and to say that, I've always said, if you want something in life bad enough, you don't care how long it takes or how painful it is, you'll go and get it. And I can actually tell that story now. I was running till I was passing out and collapsing. I was running for 16 hours a day because I had to get there. Um, so I wanted it that bad. I didn't care about my health. I didn't care about what food I was eating. I didn't care about my hygiene. I didn't care about my sleep. I didn't care about anything apart from getting to that beach and being there with my family. So I can hand on heart say at some point in my life I went the full distance. I didn't even care if I lived or died. I had to get there to that beach. And it's a level of motivation and that I will get again, but not a lot of people can really experience that mindset, and I'm glad I did. And that was all because of my family.
And you've got it forever now, right? You've got
Mm.
that journey, that story, that moment. It's there forever and it will live in you forever. And you had to, I nearly said all you had to do. And that's not me belittling the achievement in any way. It's me saying, you know, all you had to do is put yourself through 60 of the hardest days in your entire life. But in your hopefully very long life, it will feel like such a small period, but such a big period. And these challenges and these sorts of things that people like yourself do, it's such a weird imbalance, isn't it? That it's such a short period of time in your life as a whole, but such a
Yeah.
massive pivotal part.
Oh, huge, mate. I couldn't agree more. Like I know there's ultra marathon runners, like professional runners, who would absolutely smash my record. And there's a professional runner called Will Googe who's
Yeah.
actually attempting it. I'm pretty sure now he's hoping to get the world record. Annoyingly, he's British. He's got a British passport, so if he does it, he'll beat my record. But but that people then in the future might beat him, and but the problem is 10 people in the whole life might beat my record, but that moment belonged to me and my family. And I look back at photos of it and tell my grandkids one day, or my kids, you never know. This is what I've done when I was 29. um, so it's going to live with me forever, and hopefully I can get more records, and it's only going to motivate me to do more. That feeling of like I almost died getting what I want, and I finally got it. That is, for me, the best feeling ever. So it's only going to motivate me to get more.
Did you ever think though, in that 60 days, I'm pushing myself too much here. This is stupid. Like you're doing yourself damage.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, there was I think 3 days into the last 12 days of running. So I ran 150 miles 2 days before, and then I got to maybe 70 miles in on the third day, just collapsed, just absolutely just hit the deck. Blacked out in the middle of the road in the outback at like 10:30 at night, pitch black. And then got picked up, got put in the van. Straight away in my head, I'm like, I've got to carry on. I've got to do those 4 miles the next day. So it's like, it's not like I'm done for the night. It's whatever I don't do, I've got to do the next day. And the boys picked me up and put me in a van, and I just smashed a bowl of pasta, barely talking, and went straight to sleep. And then, about 4.5 hours later, I'm up again doing it all again. Getting out the van with cup feet, could barely move. My pelvis was seized up. But once you get moving, the blood's around your body. I feel a bit more oiled up, in serious pain, but it was headphones in, and have a big breakfast and we go again. It was a horrid time. That 12 days, honestly, has probably given me a bit of trauma.
Yeah.
Genuinely. Even when the sun's out now, it's getting brighter, and I have my headphones in. Certain song comes on with the sun and me. I just feel like I'm back in Australia. It's a nightmare. Yeah, yeah. I definitely thought this isn't possible. Humans aren't designed to run this far, this much. And again, if I was more of a professional athlete, there'd be some athletes listening to this going, that's easy. But for me, who was just a normal lad from nowhere area, I thought this isn't possible. But again, for me, it came down to survival. This is what I want to do for a living, so I have to do it. And I'm so glad I never gave up.
I don't think anybody listening can say that might be easy. You are the man that holds that British record, mate. No one from this country has run across there faster than you have in the history of the world, and nobody can take that away from you. And you know, as you say, somebody might take the records. That probably will go at some point, but you will have always held it, and that has got to be an enormous sense of pride, for your whole life. What was it like getting to Bondi with that having been the goal, been the thing that had been driving you forward for so long? That moment must have just felt extraordinary.
Yeah, it was the best form of delayed gratification ever. It was just,
It just it only
honestly,
took 4,000 k.
yeah, only took almost my life, 4,000 k. I lost something like 3 stone. I'm an 80 kg lad, and I finished at like 64 kg.
Jesus.
Um, I'll send you a photo, but my calf muscle was bigger than my quad. Like my legs were like French sticks, right? And getting to the beach and seeing my family there, and finishing touching the ocean at Bondi. As I touched the ocean at Perth, I finished and just hugged my mum and sister. My dad passed away when I was 12, so I looked up to the sky to my old man, and it was a huge moment for me and my family, in my family's name. And I sat on the beach and I've smashed a calzone, and I've got all the calories in me. Uh, people read about me. People come up to me, you that guy, yeah, that Brit who ran across Australia. I said, yeah, yeah, and they recognise me and my friend Josh, and in the newspapers and on the radios and stuff, and people going, oh, you that guy. One guy recognised me from in Abu Dhabi airport. He said, yeah, a guy who ran across Australia. I said, yeah. So our mate shook my hand, and it was a crazy couple of days. But that feeling of sitting down, having breakfast, had a shower, my phone was going off because I finished at 6:30 in the morning, which would have been about, I think, about 7ish UK time in the evening. Everyone was up. They watched my live feed of me finishing on the beach on my Instagram, and my phone was going off non-stop. You know, uh, to just put it away and just spend time with my friends and my family who were there, and I just couldn't believe I'd done it. I couldn't believe I got there. And what was weird, I was sat down having food. I didn't need to get up. I didn't need to run anymore. But because for 2 months, every time I'd sit in the van and have a bit of food, it was a checkpoint. I had to get up and run again in 5 minutes. So it was the first time I really sat down and thought I could be here for 5 hours if I wanted to, and not like I'm in no rush. To have that feeling of just like sitting down with a coffee and just that was it. It was yeah. It was a weird time, but it was a time that I'll never forget.
Probably felt quite uncomfortable, I would have thought. Not just the sitting down because your body was in bits, but
Yeah.
mentally quite uncomfortable to have put yourself in a position where every time you do sit down, every time you do have some food, you are getting up and going again. To then be
Yeah.
like, I don't have to get up and go again.
Yeah, it was
Weird.
my brain was in bits, like, because I had no sleep for those last 12 days. Like, it was, like I said, I experienced psychosis, and it was horrible. I remember my friend at the time, was actually in Bondi. He was doing some work there, online PT, and he said, "Mate, come and have a shower at my place. We'll meet your mum and sister later." And I was in his shower, and I was touching the tiles on the wall and trying to tell myself that I was fully present in the moment and I wasn't going to wake up in the van and start running again, because I was having so little sleep. My brain wasn't having that full rest. So I wasn't dreaming. I was just closing my eyes and just waking back up. And I didn't feel like my brain ever rested for 12 days. So, and that lasted for about 3 weeks. I got home, and every so often I just do that and touch my arms and my shoulders just to make sure that I was very much present at a restaurant with my friends or down the pub. And it went on for a long time. So yeah, it was a very uncomfortable time, more mentally than physically. Like I've been in pain before, but this mental pain was something I've never experienced. But it was one hell of a ride.
Yeah, man, I can imagine. And look, I read some stuff on your Instagram, and you posted a couple of times saying that it'd been a very difficult time when you got home. And I think that's probably something people don't speak about as much. You talk about the journey, you talk about the record, you talk about the amazing achievement, and it is all of those things. But it's the it's the mental side of things that you have to deal with afterwards that I think sometimes can be a little bit
Yeah,
neglected, and
yeah.
you've had to go through all of that to get to this point you're at now. Do you look back at that journey, obviously with fondness and pride now, but do you look back at it with learnings for the next time?
Yeah, I think the best thing I've learned in the last couple of years is that, like I said, I suffered with depression for maybe about a year. Didn't see a GP really. It was I didn't go on any medication. It was just very much like you need to do something now. You need to snap out of this now. The lowest I'd ever been. And I told myself that if I wasn't scared of dying, um, I shouldn't be scared of failure. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. Like if I'm going out to work and going out and I'm thinking if anything was to happen to me now, I honestly, hand on heart, wouldn't be scared because I was just fed up of living. I thought if I'm genuinely not scared of one of the things that scares probably a majority of people in this world is death. If I'm honestly not scared of that, then why should I be scared of humiliation and failure? Like, go out and do something big. So that's when I run 100 miles and run across Oz. And that's the best thing I've learned is that, you can manipulate your depression, you can manipulate your feelings for good. And, without depression, I wouldn't have achieved these things. I wouldn't be contemplating a world record now. Um, that's the best thing I've learned is that you really can manipulate your feelings for good. You just have to learn how to do it, and you have to find out more about yourself. And the only way you're going to do that is if you throw yourself in the deep end and throw yourself in the uncomfortable, and really try and find out who you are as a person. That is the best way. It might not work for some people. I totally get that. Everyone has different approaches, but for me, I had to do it, and that's the best thing I learned about myself.
As we're talking, it's the 9th of April. This obviously won't come out for a little bit, but I've just seen, I mean, yesterday as we're talking, you posted the announcement video. You're back from Oz. Someone else is happening very, very soon. How long did it take for you to decide, this is not the end of your story?
Well, you know what? Even when I was running out in Australia, I thought, what else could I do next
Really?
year?
Mad.
Yeah, I had 16 hours to myself,
Yeah,
and
it's a lot.
and yeah, and I was trying to think of things, and like I said, I'm too competitive. I got a British record, great. It won't be around forever, and it's probably going to go next month if Will Goods, does what he does. Um, but I want a world record. I want the fastest known time to do something, and I thought about a few things, and I waited for my body to recover, and yeah, I've got training again, and I'm working again, and I've got opportunities here and there, and I thought, why not? Let's announce it. Let's do something. And yeah, that's when I posted it this morning about an announcement soon about a world record. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. So it'll be good.
How does it feel to get the body moving again? Does running feel traumatic at this point?
Do you know what? Now it's fine,
Okay.
but I tried to run maybe 3 weeks after I got back from Australia. I put all the weight back on. Uh,
Christmas.
I wa
Christmas.
Christmas, yeah, perfect time, mate. It was food galore, calories galore, and I put all the weight back on, and I thought I'm just gonna go for a run. I don't care how far I do. I told myself I'd be happy with a mile, right? I done 200 meters, and I had like vertigo. Like the second my feet started to speed up on the hard pavement, I just went so dizzy and nauseous, and I went back inside and didn't come out for another 2 weeks, and was scared to run again, and but yeah, it took me probably about a month to start picking up a bit of speed and a bit of consistency. But I saw a doctor who knew my dad, and he said if you run a marathon, it works out at a day per mile recovery for your body to fully recover. He said you ran 2,700 miles. He said that's about 8 years. He was like, you're not having that time off. So he said, be patient. He said, you're not gonna feel long to either. I was losing my speech, I was losing my memory, I was all over the place. He said it's gonna take a long time. So be patient with yourself. And I feel like I'm back to my best now after being back home for about 4 months, 4 and a bit months. And yeah, like I said, ready to go again. And time waits for no one. And I've got that more motivation than ever because, like I said, I feel I've got some great things from Australia, but the outcome of it's the little things that for me let it down a bit, and it's just given me more motivation to go out and do it again. So yeah, I'm hungrier than ever.
It's so weird that the body can go and do that 2,700 miles, and then, a 200-meter jaunt down the road feels
Do it.
tricky. But I guess that's the thing, isn't it? And that's the true power of what the body can do. Because as much as it can, and we had a guy called Ben West on the podcast who's a mental health campaigner, and he was fantastic and one of my favorite episodes we've done. He was talking about the power of the brain, right? And how it can be positive and negative. You can talk yourself into a negative headspace. You can also talk yourself into a positive headspace. And like what we've talked about throughout this whole conversation is you basically gave yourself this insane target, particularly in that last 12 days, to be on Bondi, to be with your family. And your brain was powerful enough just to be like, we're going to get there. In the same way as your brain's like, hey, mate, we've done this now. We don't need to run 200 meters. And I think you can apply that to then the journey as a whole, where you're in a point now where you're back in that positive mindset and you're looking towards the next thing. And it's almost like where you are now is that last 12 days before the start of the next challenge. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah, no, 100%, 100%. The brain can be your best mate or your worst enemy, and you've got to. For me, it was finding out what my strength was, and a lot of people say, and you'll see a lot of things on Instagram, all these reels about how you can't be motivated every day. It's discipline that takes you through. But for me, it's just for me personally, I am motivated every day. It's not discipline that gets me through. It's sheer motivation of wanting to be a success in my mum's eyes, in my dad's eyes. It's wanting to, you know, die and go, you know what, I've achieved everything I wanted to in my life. And that is just sheer raw motivation. You know what I mean? And I'm motivated every single day to do something better, to do something bigger, to plan something more ambitious, to train harder. You can be motivated every day. You've got to work on it. It doesn't come overnight. And yeah, it's planting pictures in your head that make your hairs stand up on your arms. And once you find that image in your head, you'll have limitless potential. That's for me. That's my own theory, Um, and I know what my vision is, and every day I work my arse off to achieve it.
Right, man, we'll finish with this, and everybody listening to this now, if you don't follow Jack on Instagram, go and follow him, because, when the announcement is ready to be announced properly, it's gonna be up there, so make sure you go and do that. I guess I wanted to finish this, mate, by looking back at Australia as a whole and forward to the next thing. We've spoke about kind of the journey and some of the lessons that you've learned over, the last couple of years, but then into that Australian leg of the last couple of years. What do you take from that 2,700-mile run and maybe change or learn from moving into this next thing?
Um, Great question. Really good question, actually. Normally I always have an answer for things, but this time I'm struggling. I think it's it sounds quite cliche, but self-belief is more powerful than you can ever imagine. Ever imagine. I was a roofer from Bracknell, just an ordinary roofer from Bracknell, and I ran across one of the biggest countries on the planet. I'm not a professional runner. I was just a geezer who done a bit of running here and there. And self-belief is something you have to work on, and self-confidence and self-belief, when applied properly, will beat any form of genius. And that is something that I've known for a while, but really truly found out in Australia. And for anyone listening, whatever they're going through, whatever you want to achieve, you have to be on your craft every day, and you have to keep telling yourself you can get there. And that's coming from a roofer from Bracknell with a British record. So he's after a world record now. So you get the bug for it. You really do. And that's all I've got to say on that.